all offseason was +2 finish. That's what we did every day. If there's a line, you finish 2 yards past the line. Everything, warm-ups, running, everything. And I have no doubt that we're going to finish strong because if anybody does, man, they're going to get checked because why would we not go as hard as we can, especially for these seniors, for these guys that only have so many games left. And I'm going to do that.
Welcome back or welcome to Y Option. We are in week 10. Hard to believe. I'm Yogi Roth. That is Jim Thornby, the co-founder of Y Option. And Jim, you know the quote. We kicked off the newsletter over the weekend with it. The games they remember are the ones in November. A little nod to our good friend Rick Neuheisel. It's been a fun week. We had Jake Butt on talking about Michigan, Michigan State, and of course, the USC and Washington game. He'll be on Big Ten Network. Today, we got a Heisman candidate on in John Mateer of America's team. That's right, Washington State's quarterback who's a legit Heisman candidate. It's legit. I know some people chuckled when I said America's team early in the season. You check out the clip. It was from, I think it was from Cowherd Show. But it's real. Like, they got a shot now, right, man? So here we sit. It's also Halloween week. So let's touch upon that. Are you getting dressed up? What are you and the family doing? What do you got?
We got some game time decisions going on right now. So, we get the kids as they're 12 and 15 now. So it's a little more wrangling going on, or some less wrangling, but also some more wrangling because now you're actually like, oh, I want to go do this and I want to go do this. So, we'll figure that all out. But you got the two little ones, so like you got your hands full a little bit more with that.
Yeah, well, my wife's got her hands full.
Oh, that's right.
Because Halloween's on a Thursday. I'm heading to Nebraska. You know what? I am gutted, though. She has made the costumes from scratch every year. It's been amazing. She's a magician. She's my favorite person, no offense, in the whole world. But we're going to go with Monkey D. Luffy, which is coming from a Japanese anime on Netflix. Check that out. Naruto is the show. Is very popular in a certain age range. And then we got our little guy's going to be a dinosaur. So it'll be full of cuteness. It'll be all over my Instagram page, but she'll be doing all the photo taking. I will not be there. And it is also a big week in the Big Ten. So before we get to the conversation with John Mateer, by the way, no Pac-12 games this weekend. Oregon State, Washington State off. Also, Jim Thornby is going to get the most sleep of the season this week, Jim. Why is that?
I'm fired up for that. There's no game starting after 5 p.m. Pacific. So once those games kind of end and we kind of wrap up our business for the evening, I think, and it's also daylight savings, so there's also getting that extra.
Oh my god!
So it's like
freaked me out.
It's all coming together here. I love it when a plan comes together. So but as you said, no, both of the Pac-12 teams on a bye this weekend. So this is already going to be a big weekend for the Big Ten, but now it'll be, at least from our perspective, very much so lasered in on those schools.
Yeah, and we're not going to go too deep in the weeds on the tiebreakers unless Jim wants to.
People are freaking out. I mean, I told you this in August. I said this is going to be the story of college football when we get down to it. That once you have, because it was hard enough with 12 teams. When not everyone is playing each other. But now that you're getting into 16 and 18 team leagues, like there's so much more. It's so harder to try and come up with a fair tiebreaker for them. And we can get into whether or not that's actually good for them if they, don't play in the conference championship game, depending on what conference you're in. But we'll come back to that a little later because let's dive into what we got this weekend.
Okay, let's dive into it. We got Oregon and Michigan, the number one team in the land, heading to the team that was the number one team in the land. There's a lot to talk about in this game. I think big picture, Michigan is playing their best football. So let's set a framework for the game. They got quarterback figured out. Our good friend who we love, and Jack Tuttle, has retired medically. Too many concussions. We wish him well. Coaching staffs, hire him. He's going to be an absolute star. Well, more on that as the season concludes and the coaching carousel begins. They've got Davis Warren. They've got Alex Orji. They've got Colson Loveland. They've got talent, and they got a really, I think, physical defensive front and talent on the outside, facing the most physical team in the Big Ten. Everybody said all this stuff about the Big Ten and can the new teams handle the physicality. Oregon is bringing the punch. They have run through people. They handled Ohio State, who I think people thought would be the most physical team. In handle, they didn't like dominate them, but they can meet the moment. And then against Illinois, who everybody said they're a very physical team, they literally ran over people when you go back and you watch that game. So here they go in Ann Arbor. What are your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, well, when you talk about physical, with that Ohio State game, Jordan Burch didn't play in that game. Jordan Burch is coming back to practice this week. So not sure whether or not he will play, but that's one more step there. Terrence Ferguson also practicing this week. We'll see what their status is comes Saturday, but those could be two very big additions. And it was kind of funny, like just doing research back on this. Like I couldn't believe the last time that Michigan played the number one team in the country was 2006 when they played Ohio State, when it was that number one, number two game at the end of the year, which already, I can't believe that was already 18 years ago.
I thought you were going to say 3. Like, that's 3 years ago.
Yeah. Right, exactly. But it's been 18 years since they played a number one team in the country. It has been, checking my math there, 40 years since they've beaten a number one team in the country. And that's when Miami came to the Big House. They were the reigning national champions. Oddly, Miami had already played 2 games that year, but this was the season opener for Michigan. Jim Harbaugh's first career start. Bernie Kosar threw 6 picks in that game. It was Jimmy Johnson's first year at Miami. Just kind of putting into context, like how crazy that was. So I don't think, that was the last time they won. And I think that is still going to continue to be the case here. Oregon's a 15, around 2 touchdown favorite in this game, but I don't know if they'll cover, but I think they will win for sure.
Yeah. The only reason Oregon loses this game is if Dylan Gabriel turns the ball over.
Yeah.
I don't think he will. I think they win the game. I think it's a hard fought game. I think they just kind of outlast Michigan. The challenge with Michigan is if they're down 2 scores, how do they navigate it? For our audience, they remind me a lot of Utah when they were really good, but not elite. They can squeeze the life out of you if they can run the ball, if they can control the clock, quarterback run game, or think of Travis Wilson, think of Tyler Huntley back in the day, play really good defense. If they're down 2 scores, I don't see Michigan being able to throw their way back into the game. I don't think they can win against man coverage. I think Oregon will do a lot of that, and they could fly. Jeffrey Bossa, Devin Jackson, Bryce Betcher. Find a more athletic group of linebackers. Find one. Let us know if you do. Maybe they're at Georgia. Maybe they're at Tennessee. Maybe we'll see them in the playoff, but I think it's real. And I'll say it again. Oregon is the most improved team in America. I was there week 1, and now look at what they're doing as we enter week 10. Mission-minded, look out. We also have a race in the Big Ten that is going on, which I think is kind of fun to talk about. Ohio State's going to play Penn State. I think you either tweeted it out or put it on our social media at Y Option. And Y Option, by the way, is rocking right now on social. I think you had clips from Jim Harbaugh and Bernie Kosar in that game from 1984. So
yeah, so I found some Michigan fan had tweeted it out in August. It's like the site is like a Michigan clip a day or whatever like that. And I was just kind of going like, oh, when was the last time they won? And I did the research, and then I just searched to see if anyone had any video, and that popped up. I'm like, all right, let's fire that back up again.
Let's fire that back up. I love that. All right, so we're going to fire up a couple other clips because Will Howard, fellow Pennsylvania man, I got love for everybody in PA. He's coming on home, and he was very blunt, and I actually loved it. He said, look, that was my dream school. They obviously didn't think I was good enough. So, yeah, I think he said, I'm stoked, which we appreciate that language here at Y Option as well. I think Will Howard's a little West Coast vibe to him anyway. Maybe he learned that from Chip Kelly as offensive coordinator. But they're going to go to Happy Valley. And in Happy Valley, that team has not beaten this team in a minute. We don't know if Drew Aller is going to play. Bo Prabula, who was incredible in their game a week ago against Wisconsin. I thought last week's game against Wisconsin was a very gritty win for Penn State. I like this defense of Penn State. I love the scheme of the offense for Penn State. But I thought they could have, going into the game, won by more than 2 scores against Wisconsin. I thought they were that better talent in terms of a team. Wisconsin was gritty. They fought. They had a chance for a lead. They had a lead, etc. I think it was a 1-point game to start the 4th quarter. Ohio State, to me, I think is a better team going on the road. What do you think about this one, man?
Yeah, I mean, we kind of touched on this a little bit in the last show, but like Ohio State has some issues at left tackle. Their starter went out in the Oregon game. Their backup went out in the Nebraska game. They only ran for 64 yards last week against Nebraska. I know Will Howard is obviously going to have that chip on his shoulder, but they got to run the ball. They've got two incredible running backs, and to only put up 64 yards against Nebraska, that ain't going to cut it against that Penn State defense.
This game, I believe, from what I saw in training camp, I'm not saying I believe in this now, but the 4 running backs on the field, Singleton, Allen, the 2 you referenced at Ohio State, they're the 4 best backs I saw in camp. I didn't go to Iowa. I didn't go to Minnesota. Jordan James, I didn't think was what we're seeing now, and Jordan James still kind of working his way back into the mix there as being the true lead back. But there's talent there, to your point. There's also talent at tight end in this game. Tyler Warren, is he going to be the key factor in this ballgame? How does Ohio State take him away? A lot to talk about there. Briefly, Indiana going to Michigan State. It's a sneaky trap game of the week. I was just in Bloomington. They thrive in Bloomington. Their lone road game, I believe, was at Northwestern. Now they got to go to Michigan State. Michigan State coming off a guttural game over the weekend. They had every shot to beat Michigan and win that rivalry game. Didn't. They continue to turn the ball over at a rapid rate. I think Aiden Childs leads the Big Ten in turnovers. I think he's had a hand in 13 of them, I think, coming into this game. So with that point, Michigan State can go win this game. This is a team that drove down the field on Ohio State. First 3 drives of the game to the 20, came away with 0 points. They've had chances to win a bunch of games. You saw what they did to Iowa. They can go win this game against Indiana. I don't think they will, because they are who they've been, which they shoot themselves, or they impact themselves negatively. Chris Peterson often calls it self-inflicted negatives. I think they've had too many of those. It's become a little bit of a habit. So I think Indiana gets a very gritty win and continues to make a case for the CFP. I want you to talk about the LA schools. They go a little bit of a road trip. One of them doesn't leave the Pacific time zone, though, which is nice for them.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we'll start with that. We'll start with that one because it'll be interesting with the USC Washington game. Obviously, UW right now has the best pass defense in the country. Now, they haven't played those elite level, passing teams. Even last week with Indiana, because Curtis Rourke wasn't, playing, it wasn't that same level. And, they held Indiana to 312 yards last week. That was the only time Indiana's been held under 400 yards all season. So it'll be interesting to see with a team as talented in the passing game as USC can be with Miller Moss and those wide receivers, whether or not they can, if UW can slow them down. I mean, because USC, they put up over 300 against LSU. They put up over 300 against Penn State. Like, we've seen them do this to good teams. Which UW team are we going to see? Also, UW, I mean, they're 4-0 at home, 0-4 on the road and at the quote-unquote neutral site game that they had against Wazoo. So I think that's going to be the key to that game is UW's pass defense really for real when they now play a true passing team like this.
Ready, set, dream cabin nestled in the woods. Just 4 hours to go. New job halfway across the country. Butterflies before a first date. Wherever you go, 76 fuels all the ways you go, go, go.
So we did this thing with our flag team this week. We decided with 3 games left, final month of the season, we're going to have guys just have specific roles. We'll see if that plays out on Sunday. More on that next week. But for USC, here comes Makai Lemon. Specific role. Receiver, kick returner. Here comes their dominant sophomore, or their explosive sophomore, who hasn't necessarily been dominant in Zachariah Branch. He's just going to return punts. He's going to have his role on offense. Like, I think there's a world for SC where they're just really trying to solidify roles and let guys play really fast. If this receiving core does that, I think Deuce Robinson's probably been the most consistent receiver and playmaker for them all season long. I think it's advantage USC. I like what they have done in that regard. Makai Lemon is emerging as a star, not only with what he did at Rutgers, but you saw flashes of it. He reminds me of Steve Smith of USC back in the day. A true flanker, really strong receiver, can take the top off of a defense. I think he continues to grow. I want to see Zach Durfee. If I was calling this game, I'd be circling number 5 for Washington. We thought he was going to play last week. Tried in pregame warmups, couldn't go. He is their best pass rusher. He needs to impact the pocket. Can he do that against a USC offensive line that has been impacted negatively throughout a large portion of the season. And then how do they navigate Woody Marks? I'd be circling him all game long against Afonso Tupatala, number 11. There'll be some sort of spies, a Cameron Fabicu-Lannon, the safety against Woody Marks. Those would be the matchups that I'd want to really see. And then for Jed Fish, this story is simple. Hand it to Jonah Coleman. He had 19 carries last week. That's the most he had all year. He needs over 25. If he can do that, they win this game at home. I think I'm most curious about, what's the crowd going to be like? What's the crowd going to be like, to your point? Like, what's the juice like around SC coming to town now in the Big Ten? It's usually a big deal. I'd imagine Pete Carroll will be in attendance. Last time he coached a game at UW, fun fact, Steve Sarkisian was his first year. I think SC was number 3. Aaron Corp made the start, and Washington won. So we'll see. Hopefully we get a great game. That's on Big Ten Network. I'll be at Nebraska, flying out on Thursday. Cannot wait. Love going there. The 402nd straight sellout. We got Tony White, the former Bruin, teammate of Deshaun Foster, going up against Eric Bieniemy and Deshaun Foster. Eric Bieniemy, last time he was in this stadium, I think, was when he was a player, and he went off in this game. Went absolutely crazy. I think he had 3 or 4 fumbles to start the game, and then ended up carrying the team to victory. Jared DiNardo was on the coaching staff at Colorado. More on that in Sunday's newsletter as we empty the call sheet. I'll be on that call. Can't wait. It's such a fun place for a game. It goes crazy. Beautiful story. Last time UCLA played there, it was after they lost a fallen teammate in Nick Pasquale. And what Nebraska did that weekend was beautiful. It was a great reflection of this fan base. They showed up for this fan base and just tried to show some love and empathy for what they went through. We're going to talk about that on the broadcast. It's also Military Appreciation Day at their game. So we'll love up some unique stories. So lock into that. 12:30 Pacific as the Big Ten race heats up. Nebraska hasn't been to a bowl game since 2016. Crazy. UCLA, they got to win. All this team is talking about is going bowling. They got to get this win if they want to do that, because they got to win 4 more. They want to get to the postseason. Big 12.
Real fast, just one note. The star freshman quarterback, the last 3 games, 0 pass touchdowns, 5 interceptions. So he's got to get right for them.
Yeah, that'll be what I'm talking about all game. Like, I can't wait to get into the scheme. Not going to give it away here, but the scheme of a Kaika Malloy against the scheme of Marcus Satterfield, this freshman quarterback against a defense that schemes quarterback. What do they do? And then on the flip, Tony White is a 3-3-5 scheme. Very hard defense. Ohio State struggled, to your point earlier, against that last weekend. What does Ethan Garbers do? If they can't run the football, what happens in this game as they drop an 8 or they bring in 5? Like, that dance, the telestrator is going to be going on Saturday. All right. Take me to your home state of Arizona. What's going on there?
Great question. I mean, it's kind of funny because, we've talked about the Big 12 standings just being flipped on its head from what the preseason projections are. And you look at what a contrast it is for the 2 Arizona schools. I mean, obviously, when you look at the Big 12 race as a whole, you got Iowa State up here, you got Kansas State up here, BYU, who's on a bye, and Colorado waiting in the wings. But for the 2 Arizona schools, I think what their you probably would have predicted each of them to have the other's record at this point. I mean, right now, ASU is going into Stillwater, who was one of the teams, along with Utah, projected to win this conference at the beginning of the year. Arizona State's the favorite. They need 1 win to become bowl eligible. Sam Levitt looks like he's could be back this weekend. So ASU is like, things are kind of clicking there. Meanwhile, Arizona, it's tough. And it'll be interesting because this is, going to UCF. It'll be the first. This is a great nugget that I forget who put this one out there, but I think it was in their game notes. The first time Arizona's played in the Eastern Time Zone since 1999, which is
come on. Yeah. I was at the game. It was Penn State. I was there.
Yeah, let's not talk.
Okay, all right.
That brings back bad memories.
My bad. It's why I fell in love with college football. That's all. That's
exactly.
LeVar Arrington. There we go.
But obviously, T-Mac last week had his first touchdown since the season opener when he had 4 in that game, and he had one of the weekly press conferences this week, and he kind of acknowledged that the body language that he's kind of put out earlier in the season was an issue. Said it's something he's been working to improve, and said in that 4th quarter against West Virginia, when the offense finally started to kind of go a little bit, that they had nothing to lose. And it's interesting that now they feel that way, that they have nothing to lose. I would have think that would have been maybe kicked in a little bit earlier, but they're playing against a UCF team that just fired their defensive coordinator, and Gus Malzahn just gave away the offensive play calling duties to his offensive coordinator, because Gus has always been the head coach play caller. So you're going to have a UCF team that who knows what they're going to be, and we still haven't figured out what this Arizona team is this year. So I think that's going to be a really, really unpredictable game this weekend.
Yeah, there's a lot of intrigue. I saw something earlier this week on Stephen A. Smith, who we're nothing like his show, obviously, but which is fine. Like he's got his own take, but he's
doing okay. He's doing okay.
He's doing just fine. He referenced like the Dion in Colorado is the best story of the year, and he's coach of the year. And I just think that like that's fine to have that take. Let's talk about Indiana, picked 17th in an 18-team league, and look what they're doing now. Colorado was picked 11th. Arizona State was picked to be dead last in that league. And look where they're sitting right now, to your point. Like, I just think Kalani Sitake and BYU, like there's a lot of good stories that I think, to your point, that are emerging out of the Big 12 that we did not anticipate. Here is what I anticipate. I anticipate both Arizona teams winning this weekend. I think, to your point of what Tetairoa McMillan recently said, I think when there are a lot of expectations for you as a team, as a program, as an individual player, sometimes you can allow those, I think, into your wheelhouse, or as I like to tell my kids, like into your kitchen. And all of a sudden, it starts making noise. And I think that's happened with this team a little bit. I think they have listened to the noise a little bit, the expectations, or maybe the scrutiny from themselves about not meeting theirs and others' expectations. It's been hard, right? They made a change at offensive coordinator as well earlier in this season in terms of play calling. Like, they haven't met the standard, which we all said was a CFP berth this year in the new expanded playoff. I think they'll go cut it loose. I think Brent Brennan is phenomenal again at culture. I'll go back to that, of talking to his team. I think what T-Mac said is probably a reflection of a conversation he had with Brent Brennan, who's coached elite receivers forever, Brandon Cooks being a very notable one. So I think they go win this game in Orlando. And I also think Arizona State, under their offensive coordinator, Marcus Royal, a one-time offensive coordinator, running back coach at Oklahoma State, they go to Stillwater, they get a win. Sam Leavitt is back. Both will be gritty. They will be fun to watch. I think they bring a little bit of an after dark flavor, even though they're not going to be after dark. I think that's out of the game that we're going to get there. So with that, that's my thoughts. That's my thoughts on the Big 12.
All right. Well, let's go then from my alma mater to your alma mater, because
I like the transition.
As the ACC being one of these teams that is looking at where people are freaking out about tiebreakers right now. Right now, they've got 4 unbeaten teams in conference play. Your school being one of them, and the school they're playing, SMU, who is also kind of a crazy story this year, being another one. So you got Pitt, SMU. Your quarterback has been incredible for a freshman this year, but he is a little bit banged up, so it's not sure what if he'll play this week. But that's kind of it's interesting, because so you've got Pitt, SMU, Miami, and Clemson. Those 4 teams are all unbeaten in league play. Miami, Clemson, SMU, none of them play each other this year. So it's just like the Big Ten with Oregon, Indiana, and Penn State. And so kind of Pitt is kind of the Ohio State. I mean, not to completely count, but Pitt has SMU this week, and then they have Clemson in a couple more weeks. So Pitt will kind of be the linchpin in determining who kind of advances in that thing. So that game will be interesting. Miami is a big favorite over Duke because they kind of snapped out of it a little bit last week. They pounded Florida State, even though I thought that maybe that was a game that Florida State could kind of get up for and get over the hump. But because Miami had only won their previous 3 games by 12 total points. But so we'll see what's up with that. And then Clemson has kind of really been sneaky since that Georgia game. 6 straight wins. They're, literally crushing people. What is it? In those 6 games, outscoring their opponents 291 to 127. So, Clemson, everyone just kind of forgot about them once they got crushed by Georgia, and they've just been climbing. And Clay Klubnik is 20 TDs, 3 interceptions this season. So, the ACC, it should be a fun weekend with those 4 teams, because they're all playing. I know Miami's a 3 touchdown favorite in that game, but Duke's been pretty good this year.
Dude, I'm going upsets. Okay, I think this is an upset weekend in the ACC. Definitely not with my Pitt Panthers. We're going to go to SMU, which I'm told is not the most raucous of places to play. Find out how loud it is. I think Pitt goes and gets that win, very workmanlike, with Eli Holstein at the quarterback position. Eli, when the game is in hand, do not run the ball. Just run out of bounds. Just get down because you got injured in a play that didn't need to happen. I get it. Larry Fitzgerald was there last Thursday night. But advice for the future. I think that Duke's got a shot to take down Miami. Manny Diaz is the former head coach at Miami. Remember how this thing played out. He wasn't fired, but they flirted with Mario Cristobal. We were with Mario Cristobal that night because it was a Pac-12 title game. Oregon lost for the second time in 3 weeks to Utah. Then he ends up being courted, right? His mom was ill at the time. He went back to Miami, ends up taking the job, and I don't blame him at his alma mater. I'd take a job at my alma mater too if it was offered to me. But then they fired Manny once they knew they had Mario. That's how this one went down, based on at least my lens on this thing, if you want to say it that way. So I think Manny Diaz and this team comes on back. I think Miami has been flirting with an L. I think Duke gets an upset this weekend. I also think if Louisville and Tyler Shuck, if they can get it going, don't be shocked. They had Miami on the ropes, didn't finish it. Can they do this one? The challenge that it's at Clemson. I think this is a really good game. I think among these three teams, one will go down. I think I'm going to pick Miami. So let's quickly get to the Mountain West. Your point, 3 unbeaten teams in conference play. San Diego State at Boise State. They got a baller at running back. I know Boise State's coming off a tough and gritty win against UNLV. They're in the driver's seat to get that berth in the college football playoff. In Colorado State and Nevada. You got any notes real quickly on this conference?
Yeah. I mean, we watched it with, obviously we talked about Washington State having the bye week this week because they just played San Diego State in a close game. San Diego State, 4 straight games decided by 3 points or less. That's the first time that's ever happened to them as a Division I school, which they became in 1969 or something like that. And the one thing I think kind of note here, especially with Ashton Jeanty and the Heisman race, is we saw San Diego State's defense early in the year just pummeled with the run game. They gave up 237 to Oregon State. They gave up 275 to Cal. But last week to Washington State, only 114. It's been trending that, since that, I think it's since that Cal game, the defense has gotten better and better every week. So, and we've seen, UNLV last week, that was, you could tell like their game plan was, Ashton Janney ain't beating us. And he still had 127 yards. So those two are undefeated. Colorado State is undefeated. And that's also a team that's been kind of interesting. Like they've won 3 straight since that double overtime loss to Oregon State. So, they got crushed in the opener against Texas, but then they played competitively against Colorado. Obviously that game is going to be more remembered probably for all the smack talk that happened before the game again. But then they played, a competitive game against Oregon State, and now they're starting to trend. So it'll be interesting to see. And obviously the Washington State fans that don't have a game this week, they should be watching that Boise State game on Friday night, cheering for the Broncos because they want the Broncos to win out the rest of the way for their chances to really have their only loss be a potential top 10 team.
I say the same thing for Oregon fans. If Oregon wins out, they're going to be just fine. They'll be a number 1 seed, etc. If they lose a game, though, they want to position themselves in the strongest of ways, and they've got a tough slate. I don't think they've got the easiest of schedules in the remaining games. The Big Ten, I think they got to go to Wisconsin. They get UW, of course, in the final game of the season at home, and then a Big Ten title game. Maybe it's a rematch. We'll see how that thing shakes out. I wonder, is something in the water because San Diego State, Cal, and USC has just all their losses are by combined like less than 30 points. I can't do the math in my head right now, but I'm pretty sure it's less than 30 points when you look at the last month or so of the season. San Diego State, I love that place. I love that stadium. I hate that grass. We got to change that. But a man who looked great in that grass is our guest today, John Mateer, your favorite quarterback's favorite quarterback. Why do I say that? Because when you watch him play, I think we all imagine ourselves playing like that in the backyard at some stage of our lives. And I love that his jersey is always bloodied. It's torn. It's grass stained. And he is going going and going, which is why he's our interview today. Presented by our founding partner, 76, which keeps you in the know on the go, go, go. He might just be going all the way to New York City for the Heisman. This team might be going to the CFP as well. We talked to him about all of those things and more in today's interview with Washington State quarterback John Mateer. And here he is, John Mateer, Davey O'Brien Award. Here we go. That just came out this week. But before we get going, John, because it is great to see your beautiful face, man, I got to ask, how many times do you think the equipment staff at Washington State has to wash your jersey, especially after last week? Because it is grass, game. It is torn, there is blood probably on it. What has it been like to be you this season, man?
It's been a blessing, a true blessing to be in this position to have these people believe in me and do all the things I've been able to do. Of course, everybody says it, but I truly, I couldn't do this without the people that have got me here. And I just appreciate all the people that have done it. And to answer your question about the jerseys, I actually asked our EQ guy, I was like, look, if you can't get that clean for the next game, I'll take it off your hands. So, still TBD on that. And we'll see if that gets done, but it's got to be a lot. That was fun.
That looked like a blast. It reminded me of when we were all kids and you were playing, and you were making plays, and you were gritty, and it was back and forth with your boys. How did it feel when you looked at your teammates and you knew that you were in the fight? And every game you guys have had a version of that. But you look past at this past weekend as you guys sit in a bye now, I'm just kind of curious how this team, when you look at one another, what you're seeing, what you're feeling as you found yourself victorious once again.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of belief. We've been here together since January 1st, and no indoor, going in the snow. And if you look back at everything we've done, all the hard things we've done, it's been fun. And to see the success we're having now and these hard games and these hard times that we're finishing. And because the finish is really what we preach this offseason. It's coming together in the fourth quarter. And belief and then just joy that we get to do it with each other and get to look in the huddle. And it's hard, and we all root for each other, and we're all giving everything we can just to win a game, right? It's so fun.
Okay, so you talked about joy. In the beginning of the season, there was kind of a theme around the Pac-12 and the two teams that entered, and the theme was welcome to the fight. These two teams have not backed down clearly from that. You guys specifically, you being the quarterback and the leader at Washington State. But it seems as though your team has been a rallying cry for even more than what we see on Saturdays. Have you felt the community or been able to take a minute after a game or connect to some fans in a way to say, we are competing for something greater than what is traditionally a 12-game season?
Right. I think, first of all, it's important for us not to get caught up. The result has been, yes, it's been great, and we're competing for more, and we're getting more out of it and all these people. But I think these fans, the Tech game, you feel them after that game, and the Apple Cup, everybody's on the field, and you feel the love then. I tell you what, you feel the love from those fans. And then after we pulled out a close one against San Jose, even after the loss against Boise, that wasn't easy on us. But, nobody gave up. The fans didn't give up. We definitely didn't give up. And then this last game, there's so many fans at San Diego. It was equal in the amount of noise we were producing, and on third downs it was loud. And I got hit on a couple throws, and at an away stadium, you're listening. I'm listening to what happens, because you can't see it, so you're listening for a reaction. And I'm oh my gosh, I don't even know what happened, because I don't know if it was good or bad, because our fans are cheering. And there's fans are cheering, right? But it's been great, and I appreciate them.
I think there has to be an element of discipline for any successful organization, and clearly for any successful football team. You reference there is a community, the greater good of college football. I called you America's team pretty much all season long, because I think if you're a competitor, you want to cheer for Washington State based on what you've been through, what you're going through, and what you stand for. But to your point, there is a discipline about going to work on a Tuesday practice and not necessarily being I don't want to say connected to that, but you don't want that to overwhelm you. How can you speak to the discipline this team has under Jake Dickert and the leadership that you've showcased to stay focused week in and week out?
I think Coach Dickert's done a great job just resetting our focus week to week, really making us clear on what the target is, and that our opportunity. He puts an opportunity and then the logo of the team we're playing every week, and that's all it is. It's just one team at a time, 1 week at a time. And then one day at a time. And he preaches every day, just loving the process and doing it together and going as hard as you can at practice because, it obviously reflects the game. And I think we've had some great practices, great energy, great detail, and that's led us to where we are.
I love that. Any elite team pays dramatic attention to detail. We like paying attention to detail here as well at Y Option. Okay, I don't know if you're aware. You might be one of those guys that just has somebody run your social media during the season. I don't know,
No.
but okay, you're one of 2 players that have won multiple awards here at Y Option after your performances. You've been my 5-star QB, which is what we give out to our favorite quarterback every weekend, multiple times. But we all know that in recruiting, you are not a 5-star quarterback. In fact,
Sure.
You are the 119th ranked quarterback in the class of 2022.
Yes, sir.
You knew that, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, I know that. I knew that.
You knew that. But you've gone to work. How have you utilized that? How'd you navigate that to be in a position that probably very few outside of your close circle thought you could accomplish?
I think when I was younger, it really motivated me. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand recruiting. I didn't enjoy recruiting. I felt like it was unfair, this and that. And I'm not a big woe is me like this, but I was like, this doesn't make sense. Because I believe and I was raised, if you give everything you can and you prove to yourself and the people around you that you can count on you and you can make plays, and just in playing quarterback, you make plays and do good things, and you will get stuff for it. And at one point, I wasn't getting anything for it. I was getting FCS offers. And all these people, I would look at the rankings, and I was nowhere to be found, and this and that. All these people playing 7-on-7, and their highlights were there, and it was just I would sit in class and just be so stressed. I didn't know where I was going to go. I thought I wasn't doing enough, this and that. And then I obviously was blessed with an opportunity to come up here. Crazy turn of events, Coach Morris getting the offer and coming up here. And then when I got here, it left my mind. It wasn't. And it's not, I don't go into every game, oh yeah, I was under recruited, this and that. It's, and then maybe that's just maturity. But I understand now that I got this opportunity no matter where I was ranked. And it's just an opportunity to play and then just give it my all, like I try to do every week, and do it for the guys around me.
I want to talk about QB, though, because I think it's just amazing the room that you were in. I've been able to sit in on meetings with you and Ben Arbuckle. What is that like with the young, detailed, clearly talented offensive coordinator and quarterback coach?
It's super energized. He's always, he'll crack some jokes here and there, but the detail and the focus and his intention is really what gets us successful, makes us successful, and how much he cares about his players, how much he can connect to his players to get everything out of them. And me included. He's been great for me. Just his energy and his belief in me. When I really needed it, there was a point where I wasn't playing as good, I went in there and I was like, look, this is, and he told me, he regrouped me. He was like, we believe in you. There's no question. We believe in you so much. He told me right before that 26-second drive to get the field goal against San Jose, he was like, everybody in the building knew you were going to get it done. And that kind of added perspective for me. He's been great for me. I really appreciate him and everything he's done.
What kind of perspective does that add for you at this position?
Just that, going into the year, I had never done it. I had never thrown for 2,000 yards. I had never started a game. So I didn't know in my own, I didn't know if I could do it. I've never done it. I'm big on proving things to myself. But they had seen the process and me go about it every day, and to get them to believe that I could do it. And maybe they believe more than me to start. And now I'm obviously a believer. But just having them have my back, him and Coach Dickert and all the other coaches in the building, means the world.
I can remember being at practice 2 years ago, and Coach Dickert pulled me aside and he pointed at you and he goes, that guy, keep an eye on John. And it was cool because I'd known about you in recruiting, and then to watch you in that room. And at the time, it was Emmett Brown, who you competed against in that game you referenced against San Jose State. There's also Cam Ward, who's having a heck of a season, you and a couple others. When you think back to who was in that room, and then how that room has impacted various regions of the country in college football this season, whether it's Emmett in the first 6 games he started or Cam, continually rolling. What does that do? And are you guys on some sort of a thread?
Oh, we definitely are, and
Okay.
we all text here and there. It's been great to see because Emmett left, and he really bet on himself. He left and walked on in San Jose and earned a scholarship, earned a starting job, and whatever's going on there, I don't know right now, but I'm super proud of him. He's a great friend, great dude to me. We competed, yes, but we both wanted the best for each other every day, and I appreciate him. We text often, and then Cam obviously is running college football right with his celebrations, number one quarterback. I'm super proud of him. Watching his highlights every week is incredible, and some of the things he's doing. I'm proud of him too, and his mentorship for me and Emmett have helped us a lot to do so well starting.
Yeah, I think the quarterback position is a fragile one and also a powerful one in a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of different ways. I also think the quarterbacks and head coaches are two people that really understand what it's like to
Mm-hmm.
be in that type of position, right? One where there's expectations, one where the standard might be a little bit higher internally and easily externally. How have
Mm-hmm.
you and Jake Dickert been able to navigate the head coach, quarterback, face the program in one of the most
Right,
unique seasons and now a very successful season for your
right.
Cougs?
He's taught me a lot because he's obviously been in a head coach position before, but I've never been a starting quarterback at this level position before. So he's really helped me maneuver some of these things like the media and what I say to my teammates because it matters so much. And just knowing him, my third year under him, has been huge, and our relationship continues to grow. I meet with him every week, every Thursday morning, and it's more and more like we talk about the game, and then we're just talking about life. He's checking in on me, and he's been a great coach and great mentor to look after, and I appreciate everything he's done. He's doing a great job, just keeping me centered, keeping everybody centered, like I said earlier. But
By the time you play your next game, there will be the first CFP rankings will come out. You guys
yeah,
talk about that at all? You pay that
actually,
any concern?
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that was. I think I saw it somewhere, but it's just I can't control it. We can't control it here in this building. And we had a team meeting this morning. He was like, "Don't get caught up in it because we can't control it. All I can control is how I lead and how I go about every day. If we end up in it, it's great. It's a blessing from God, and we win 11 games, this and that. All these what ifs could, run through our minds, right? But it's gonna be cool to see, right? First one ever. It's gonna be a cool little production, I bet, and keeping up with it's gonna be fun. But
Yeah.
worrying about it is not how we're going about it.
Yeah, it's going to be a very busy night in the first
Yeah.
ranking because it's also election night. So
Oh yeah,
we'll see
right.
how that shakes out. I want before we cut you loose. I am curious about something you said earlier. You talked about the off-season program that wasn't in the beautiful indoor that you have now, right? It was out in the cold. It was early in the morning, and it seems like a theme around this program is finishing. And now you're in that final stretch, right? There's an old adage that a good friend of mine would say: the games they remember are the ones in November. And here we go. The next time you put on a helmet and have that beautiful
Mhm.
hair float out of it, you're going to be in the month of November, man. How do you anticipate this team finishing?
I mean, of course, I think we're going to finish hard. We're going to finish strong. I think we're going to turn. Coach challenged us today to turn it up a notch. The film, the sleep, the recovery, the eating, everything. Because why not? Like in a world where we are so close to what we want, why would you lay down now? Why would you rest now? And that's what I believe. Like if you're so close, you go harder and you go get it. And we were finished. All offseason was +2 finish. That's what we did every day. If there's a line, you finish 2 yards past the line. Everything, warm ups, running, everything. And I have no doubt that we're going to finish strong because if anybody does, man, they're going to get checked because why would we not go as hard as we can, especially for these seniors, for these guys that only have so many games left. And I'm going to do that. Kyle Thornton's like my big brother. I room with him, and when we travel, I love that dude to death. I'm going to give everything I have for him and all the other seniors.
Love that +2 finish. I am stealing that. I'm clipping that out and playing it for my 9-year-old flag team. Okay.
Yeah,
And we'll
yeah,
give
yeah.
you all the credit in the
No
world,
doubt.
John. Okay.
Give Coach Dickert the credit.
Okay, all right. I'll give both of you credit. If you guys ever want to come, you want a speaking gig, come on
Yeah,
down. We'll take care of you down here in LA.
sounds
Heck,
good.
maybe we'll see you down here for the Rose Bowl. Who knows? We'll bring our
Right.
flag team. All right, to that point, before we let you go, if you don't know, I want to tell you, my love for your community at Washington State is through the roof. I'm an honorary Coug.
There.
and follow you like many do around the globe. It is a huge brand. As I travel the country calling games this year, I've seen at least somebody in probably 6 or 7 stops with either a Coug hat on, a hoodie. If you could say something to them around the support that you've received and that you need to receive here for this stretch run, I'm curious how you would address and what you might say to this incredible fan base.
I would say as a kid that came here from Texas, not knowing anything about the place, not knowing anything about Pullman, coming here, working up, starting. I appreciate y'all and the love and the support that y'all have given me personally. It means the world to have y'all behind me, to help me, lift me up when I need it, and support me when everything's good, right? But then just how much y'all travel and cheer and how passionate y'all are on social media and in the stands, it means a lot, and it helps us. I believe it helps us. And I think just keep doing what you're doing. Just like I said, turn it up a notch. For the last couple of stretch, do whatever you can. Come to the games. It's going to be cold, which is what makes it great up here, right? But, yeah, I appreciate you guys, and let's finish.
I love it. Let's finish. I want to wish your equipment staff best of luck keeping your jersey clean as the season progresses.
I don't. I want
Yeah,
that jersey.
I know. I want a jersey here. Okay, I don't want it washed. I want like a game worn jersey in our little setup here at Y Option. Okay, you let us know if you're gonna auction that thing off. Make sure we get in the game a little bit, man. All right.
Yes, sir.
I love it. All right, John. We'll have you back on. Stay safe. Slide when you can slide. And I know I know you don't do that often, but take care of your body and go thrive in this final stretch, man.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
There it is. John Mateer, your favorite quarterback's favorite quarterback. It's the Afterglow. Jim Thornby, Yogi Roth. That was John Mateer, as always, presented by our incredible founding partner, 76, keeping you in the know on the go, go, go. Jim, you have shared and laid out some amazing stats about John Mateer. The amount of touchdowns he has, the amount of passing touchdowns, rushing touchdowns, when he's near the tops in the country in all of those categories. What did you take away from this conversation with a Heisman hopeful quarterback?
That he is the perfect quarterback for this team this year. I think, that chip on his shoulder from being the 119th rated quarterback in his high school class, and not really getting a lot of attention coming out of high school, as he referenced in there. I think that's kind of the perfect fit for where this program is right now and everything that's kind of happened to them. He has that. It's not a cockiness, but he is definitely not short on confidence. And I respect that. He's even just in the conversations that we had with him before and after the interview, you could tell like he's got that swagger to him for sure. And I think that's really helpful for what they've been going through.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that every great quarterback, every good quarterback, every just starting quarterback, you have to have scar tissue. You have to navigate adversity. You can't run from it. I don't care if you're in high school and you want to transfer because you want to start, or you're in college and you're frustrated, you want to transfer. Like at some point, you can't run from it. Anthony Richardson, case in point with the Colts. Like you've got to meet it at some point. It's going to find you. It found him. It's found this team. And what I love most is not only what he does in the field, of course, that's a no-brainer, but I really think it's how he and this team reflect the adversity their team has gone through. Again, by no fault of their own, they're in the position they're in. They're in a unique conference. They have a unique schedule. They also have a unique culture. Not a lot of guys left this team. I get that Cam Ward did. He's also a Heisman candidate. He also declared for the draft before he ended up at Miami. John Mateer also played when Cam Ward was playing last year. Like they were in the same quarterback room. Like I just think that his maturity, learning from Cam, but reflecting Jake Dickert, reflecting Ben Arbuckle, and not making it about proving everybody wrong and saying, we got screwed, look at us. They're going the opposite. Based on the conversation we had and many that we've had with Jake Dickert and company, it's about them. And I love that for this team. This is what CFP caliber teams do. There's a recipe. There's a model. And you have to have a quarterback who can be one who changes the game, can dictate terms, has unique traits, is an elite competitor, and he's a dominant dual threat player. He does all those things in spades, man. So it was, from my lens, a really fun conversation, and it's going to be fun because next time we have an episode, I guess 2 episodes from now, we'll be talking about the first playoff ranking. and how the committee views this team. We'll get into that, maybe a little bit in the newsletter over the weekend. We'll definitely get into it next week on our opening episode of the week. If you missed anything, newsletter from last week was really fun. We talk about things that inspired me, like Kalinsky's Hope. Go check that out. This past week, we had Jake Budd on. He's calling the SC UW game, was on the Michigan game a week ago. Michigan is playing Oregon, of course. And then I'm on my way to Nebraska. And we had a great conversation today with John Mateer. So, Jim, hell of a week. Good work. You don't need to get any sleep now because you're going to get it on Saturday night. Get an extra hour. The games are over early. You'll be good, man. All right?
Best sleep ever. Best sleep ever.
All right. Thanks for the love. Thanks for the support. Peace.